Okay, guys, I wanted to talk to you about the algorithm on Facebook and also the algorithm on Instagram. I think this is just a fundamental piece to understand. This is a bit of a bonus for this module. So we're going to talk a little bit about content and ads and how the algorithm kind of impacts those. So let me break this down for you. What a lot of people don't know is when you make a post on Facebook, not all of your followers or friends see that post. You probably do know that, actually. In the early days of Facebook and Instagram, that is how it worked. You'd make a post and everyone you know would see it, right? Now it does not work like that at all. So I want you to understand at a fundamental level how this actually works and how Facebook and Instagram decide who to show what content, okay? Because there's obviously a lot of content out there. People follow a lot of pages. So everyone's kind of competing. Everyone's content's competing to get in front of their followers or in front of their friends, right? So how does Facebook decide, what content to put in front of who? So let me break that down for you. Basically, when you make a post, how it works is whether you have a business page or a personal page, it works in a similar way. When you make a post, what Facebook's going to do is they're going to show it to a small number of your friends first, okay? Same with Instagram. They'll show it to a small number of your followers first. Now, depending on how those followers actually engage with that post, Facebook will decide whether or not to show it to another group of people or not to show it to anyone else at all, solely based on the engagement that that post receives. I shouldn't say solely, mostly based on the engagement that post receives. On Instagram, it depends on how often that person watches your stories, and there's a lot of other stuff going on there. But let's say Facebook decides to show, let's say you have 500 followers, for example, and Facebook shows your post to 50 people right off the bat. If those 50 people comment, like, or share your post, that signals to Facebook that your content is interesting. Now, Facebook's always trying to put interesting and relevant content in front of its users. So if people engage with that post, then Facebook will show it to maybe another 50 people. And if those 50 people engage positively with that post, then they might show it to another 100. Because with every engagement, it's signaling to Facebook that people are interested in whatever you're posting. Okay? So this is how content goes viral on the internet. Is it starts small, and the algorithm can detect if something's getting a crazy amount of engagement or not, because that engagement's signaling to them that this is really interesting stuff and more people need to see it. So that's how things go viral, is through engagement. Now, when we're talking about what kind of engagement is valuable, really we're talking about comments. Comments are the most valuable form of engagement on Facebook specifically. Facebook has come out and said they're all about starting conversations and engaging in dialogue. So what you want to do is you want to try to fish for compliments, or sorry, not compliments, comments. Well, compliments too, but you want to fish for comments because comments signal to Facebook that whatever you posted is worth commenting on. It's more interesting, and they want to put it in front of more people. So let me give you some ideas here. When you make a post, have it in the back of your mind that, is someone going to comment on this? Is this comment worthy? If it's not, maybe you should adjust the wording of that post, okay? So that's why asking a good question, or I hate to say it, but sometimes something a little like edgy that gets people to comment is a good way to start a dialogue and a conversation. And as a realtor, you don't always need to take a side, okay? You don't need to take a stance at all. You can just say, you can spill the beans and say, recently the government made a change on property tax and this. What does everyone think about this? What does everyone think about this change? You don't have to take an opinion on that change. You can start the conversation and let people have opinions back and forth, and you can be the expert voice in that conversation. Another thing you can do when you make a post is don't be afraid to tag your followers or your friends. When you do the @ symbol, you can comment on your post and tag a friend and say, @John, what do you think about this? Right? Or if someone comments on your post, you can reply back to their comment, but don't just reply back as you normally would. Say something like, interesting perspective. What do you think about that? And then tag a friend, John. Interesting perspective. What do you think about this, John? And then John will get notified and he'll engage in the dialogue. Then that other person will engage. Then you'll engage back and you'll start a conversation, okay? So let me give you an example of this in real time. Not a little, I think it was a couple of years ago, I recall this. I made a post about, I made a bold prediction of the Stanley Cup final because I love hockey. on Facebook. And I just said Washington's going to beat Vegas 4-1 in the final. And now what happened was a lot of my friends who love hockey started to comment. So my friend Sean commented, and I said, interesting, what do you think about that? And I tagged my friend Carter. And then my friend Carter commented, then my friend Sean commented, then my friend Corey came in and he commented. And then we basically started a kind of a debate, if you will, around who was going to win the Stanley Cup. And then after about 27 comments or so, this guy Patrick commented on my post. Now, I totally forgot who Patrick was. I totally forgot who he was. But I looked at his profile. I was like, who is this guy? I was like, oh yeah, you know what? This guy was someone I went to school with in Sweden like 8 years ago. When I was on a study abroad in exchange. And I met him very briefly. We were playing a football game. And I met him very briefly. I guess we connected on Facebook. Never really saw the guy again. Totally forgot about him. Turns out he's actually from the same city as me. But my point is that I have not talked to this guy since that football game. And it took me a minute to realize who he was. And I was like, where did this guy come from? I've never seen any of his posts on Facebook. I've never seen anything from him on Facebook because Facebook knows we don't engage with each other very often. So they don't show each other. They don't show my post to him and they don't show his post to me normally. But the only reason he saw that post is because, one, Facebook probably knew he was interested in hockey, but two, because there was 27 comments and it told Facebook that this content is worth showing more and more of my followers. Okay. So I just want to give you a real world example of how that works. Because my point is this, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. If you're not posting engaging content on a regular basis, you're not going to reach most of your followers most of the time. Okay. Even if you have 500 followers and you're posting stuff people aren't commenting on, you might only be reaching 50 at a time or less. Now, the bad part about that is if you continue to reach a small amount of your audience, Facebook learns that you post boring stuff and they don't show your stuff to a lot of people most of the time. But it works in the opposite, where if you keep posting content that people tend to engage with, you'll notice right away that Facebook will show your post to more and more people. You'll notice your posts get traction quicker. That's because Facebook's showing them to more people right off the bat because it's assuming the next thing you post is going to be extremely engaging because the last 10 things you posted were, right? Does that make sense? So Instagram's very similar as well. If people often watch your stories and they don't just click through your stories really fast, they actually watch your stories, Instagram learns what type of people, what type of your followers are engaging with your stuff. So when you make a post, they're going to see that post higher up in their feed because they've been engaging with your stories. So you want to create engaging stories often, get people watching them, get people hooked and watching them fully so that when you do make a post, it shows up higher in their feed. Okay? Test this out, guys. Go to your Instagram and go to stories and scroll all the way to the end to the last person there. And you'll notice that's someone you probably haven't engaged with in a while. Watch all their stories fully. Okay? And then throughout the next day or so, watch their stories show up earlier in your feed and watch their posts show up in your feed if they're making them. Try it out and you'll see the algorithm in action. So this is the content ranking system that I'm talking about in the algorithm. So it really matters. One, I just went over why engagement is so important. A second and more hidden one is reviews are actually important here too. They say about, believe it or not, almost 10% of the algorithm is weighted on reviews. So if you have a Facebook page with a ton of reviews on it, a business page, what that signals to Facebook is that you are a valuable member of the Facebook community. And the community has vetted you as a business. So if you have 55 reviews and your average rating is like 4.8 out of 5, that tells Facebook that you're a legitimate business and they're actually going to show your content to more people because you're a legitimate business. If you have 20 followers and no reviews versus someone who has 1,500 followers and 55 reviews, that person is immediately going to have a leg up in terms of how their content reaches people. So that's content. Now, second is ad ranking. So this all actually affects your ads too, guys. So if you have an engaging page and people are interacting with it on a daily basis, what happens is Facebook actually takes that into account. When you go to run an ad, they scan your entire page and all the history of it to see how much engagement you tend to get, how many people care about what you're posting. and how many people like and share your content. They look at all that when you go to run an ad, and Facebook will actually give you a boost on your ads because your page has so much engagement. What they're doing is they're saying they're valuing valued members of their community. So people who actually put the effort into creating engagement on their platform and making their platform better, they give these little boosts and improvements to. But not only that, it works the same in your ad account. So if you tend to run really good ads and you get really good click rates, meaning people click on your ads and wherever they go, say they go to your website, they tend to stay on your website for a little while, that signals back to Facebook that your ad is relevant. So you get a high relevance score. So if your ad is like for a property search in a certain area or open houses in a certain area, and people click on your ad and they stay on your website for a while, that's telling Facebook you're putting out a good ad. And they'll start showing your ad to more people for less money. So typically how an ad works is you're in a bidding war with all these other advertisers to get in front of people. But you get a leg up in the bidding war if you tend to post good quality ads. So if your ad account has a high quality rating, meaning you post quality ads all the time, not ads that get like no engagement or no one's clicking on them or no one's watching your video. Like if you're posting a lot of video ads and people are watching like a good percentage of the video, that's all signaling back to Facebook and to the algorithm that whatever you're doing is positive, it's good, people are taking interest in it, your audience is relevant. So they'll actually show your ad to more people for less money, okay? So it's really complex, and I just wanted to break this down for you in the best way I can because it is very important. Think about that when you're making posts and you're making ads. Quality really matters. Engagement matters. Keep it in the back of your mind when you're running an ad even. Are people going to comment on this? Are they going to engage with this? Are they going to ask questions? Because when people comment on stuff, it just gives your ad far more exposure. And one thing I also forgot to mention is when someone comments on your post, all of their close friends on Facebook, they get notified that they commented on your post. So if you're a public-facing business like you are as a realtor, and John comments on your post, all of John's closest friends are going to get a notification that said John commented on your ex-realtor's post. Okay, so that's how you get more organic reach and more organic exposure as well. So that's just another way. So keep this stuff in the back of your mind when you're making posts and you're creating ads. Don't rush through it all. Like spend a little time making sure your ad is relevant and of high quality because it does actually matter in the long run. So I hope that was helpful. I just want to throw this bonus in there for you guys to help understand a little bit about how Facebook and Instagram kind of juggle the content mix in the world. So anyway, that's all I got for now. I'll see you in the next module.